Hi yogi friends, Cathy here. So glad you're here to practice with me today. If you've been following me for any length of time, you know that many of my practices are a little bit lengthy, and I'm attempting today to bring you something that's a little quicker so that when you just are really pressed for time, you can get some yoga into your day so that you can get all the benefits, even if you're really pressed for time. So you also probably know that warm-ups are really important to me. So let's start with some warm-ups and we'll move right into some bigger movements. But I feel like it's essential to get the body warmed up so that you can prevent injury and also just have more range of motion, more mobility. Hey, Peanut. So that you're able to really experience the best practice that you can because the muscles are just more ready. So let's start by lengthening arms up above the shoulders, clasping the hands, pressing the palms up toward the ceiling, lengthening tall through the spine, lengthening through the crown, and then lifting the nose up toward the ceiling, and just holding here for a moment. And when we release the hands, let's come right into our twist. Tall through the spine on the inhale, and on the exhale, glancing over that back shoulder. And then we'll lift back up to the center with the arms twisting over to the opposite side. Lengthening tall again on the inhale, on the exhale, glancing over that back shoulder. Lifting the arms back up tall. Let's lower the fingertips down, walking the fingertips forward. You know the drill here probably. Pressing the sits bones back and down, lengthening up through the crown, feeling the opening in the hips. Walking the fingertips over to frame one knee. And then coming through center, walking the fingertips over to frame the opposite knee. And feel free to hang out in any of these warm-up positions for a little bit longer if you like. Never is a bad idea. But if you're pressed for time, we're going to move through them a little more quickly today. Let's come back to center with the fingertips. Roll up taller into your seat and then switch legs. Lengthening arms up above the shoulders, clasping the hands. Again, we'll press again toward the ceiling, lifting through the crown. Lowering shoulders away from the ears. Tilting the head so the nose comes toward the ceiling. And then we're going to lower the fingertips down, walking them forward. Pressing back and down with the sits bones, lifting through the crown. And really notice how this feels different on this side of the body than the other. Just some noticing there. Let's walk the fingertips over to frame one knee. And I'll pet my sweet doggy here while he's in position, conveniently located. And then we'll walk the fingers back through the center, coming over to frame the opposite knee. Pressing sits bones back and down, lengthening up through the crown. Then walking the fingertips back to center, pressing up into a seated position. Lengthen arms up, press hands down, lengthen arms up, press the hands down. Let's bring the hands to prayer position for just a moment. Then bring the fingertips to the shoulders, bring the elbows toward the ribs, and then bring the elbows closer together. We're just going to make some circles here with the arms. Working to keep the shoulders down away from the ears. There's a real tendency to bring the shoulders up as we're coming into this movement. If it means that you're making smaller circles with the elbows in order to keep the shoulders relaxed, then do that. Because we really want some opening in the shoulders here. We don't want to be causing more tension. Next time the elbows are down by the ribs, we're going to reverse the circle, going the other direction. And remembering to breathe, of course. Next time that the shoulders, or rather the elbows, are down by the ribs, let's just release the arms down. think it's really important to warm up the neck, so let's bring the chin to the chest, rock one ear to one shoulder, slowly and gently, then rock back down, chin to chest, and to the opposite shoulder. We're just going to go back and forth a few times, slowly and gently, really noticing if there's a spot where you feel some tension and you need to maybe rock the head in that one place, giving a little more length there, then go ahead and do that. Just listening to what your body needs here today and honoring that. Let's do this a couple more times, rocking one ear to one shoulder, chin to chest, and then opposite ear to opposite shoulder. And sitting back up tall again. Let's come into our cat-cow. First coming into tabletop, and then we'll transition into a cat-cow. So nice foundation here. Mr. Peanut, I think you're going to need to move because we're not going to be able to share this territory, buddy. Opening the fingers nice and wide, pressing the fingertips into the mat. Hands are like little spiders. Link through crown and tail, knees directly under hips, feet directly behind the knees. Drop the belly, raise the crown and the tail on that inhale, and then on the exhale, pressing into our cat position. And then let's come back to neutral. And I'm going to change things up here just a little bit. Let's bring the hips back to the heels so that the arms are extended out in front. Lower the head, so we're in this extended child's pose. But then we're going to bring the weight forward again, coming onto the forearms and dropping the belly here, raising the crown and the tail. So we're in this sort of modified cow. Then we're going to press into the base of the palms, coming up into the full cow, and then curving the spine and bringing the hips back to the heels again while the spine is curved. So this is more of a dynamic, moving cat-cow. And it might take a minute to get the hang of this, but just think of when you bring the hips back to the heels, we're in a child's pose. As we come forward onto the forearms, we're coming into a cow, so we're dropping the belly, raising the crown and the tail. Continuing with the cow as we come up onto the hands, and then we come into our cat, and then just bring that cat with you as you bring the heels, or hips back to the heels rather. So let's continue that move for 2 more of those. And then we'll come back to that child's pose again. And then we'll come back up to our tabletop. Let's move the hands forward by a palm's length if that feels best for you when you are ready to come into your down dog. So we're going to come up to down dog here, pedal the feet a little bit. Use those spider hands again so that the wrists don't get too tired or overworked. Think of lengthening crown toward that front edge of the mat, allowing space between the shoulders and the ears. Maybe bringing the feet to stillness and the toes, big toes, slightly closer to one another. Allow those shoulder blades to relax down the back and really work toward having a flat back here. And we're just pressing the heels toward the mat. Doesn't matter if they touch the mat. They're just headed that direction. From here, let's walk forward into a forward fold. Letting the head hang. Swaying from side to side, allowing gravity to pull the head toward the feet here, giving a generous bend in the knees as much as you need. And from this position, we're going to take the right foot, reaching those right toes back as far as we can, coming into a low lunge or a high lunge. You decide what works best for your body today. If you are in the low lunge, let's come up onto the toes into a high lunge and then turn the foot out so that we can roll up into a warrior 2. So take a look at the feet. Front foot is facing the short edge of the mat. Back foot is turned in just a tiny bit. The toes are turned in just a tiny bit so all the weight of that back leg can rest in that outer edge. Raising the arms up into your warrior two here. Just an alternative way to come into this pose. Holding in warrior two, feeling your strength. And then let's come into a side angle. We'll bend the front arm so that the forearm can rest right above the kneecap. We don't want to put a lot of weight on it. We really just want it to be a support, and then lengthening this right arm up above the shoulder. And then we'll bring that right hand down to the mat, coming onto the back toes. Let's bring a twist in here. We'll bring that left hand across the calf, lengthen up through the left fingertips. And then we'll bring that hand down, coming into our plank, bringing the knees down to a half plank if you would like, keeping the elbows super close to the body. Let's lower all the way down to the belly. I'm going to press up into a cobra here, as little or as big as feels right for you today. Lower back down. Press up into a plank or a tabletop. Come into your down dog. And pedal the feet just a bit if you want. Come into a still down dog. And then we're going to walk forward into our forward fold. Little sway from side to side here. And then roll up into a mountain pose. Lengthening up tall. Clasping the hands up at the top in a steeple grip, pressing the hips out to one side and tilting the torso to the opposite side. Coming back to center, tilt the hips to the opposite side and then the torso over to the other side. And then coming back to center, lowering the arms down. Bringing the hands to prayer position at the heart for just a moment and noticing how the body feels. Let's lift up tall with the arms above the shoulders, diving forward into our forward fold. A little sway here, nice deep breathing, letting gravity do the work. This time we're going to take the left toes back as far as we can. You can lower the left knee here if you like, coming into your low lunge, or you can lift up onto those toes. We're going to bring a twist in here. Right arm across the right calf, lengthening out above the right shoulder. And we'll bring that hand down. And I'm going to end up with my back facing you, but we're going to turn that back foot out just like we did on the other side. I'm going to rise up and come into our warrior two. Again, putting all of the weight into the outer edge of that back foot. Front foot is facing the front edge of the mat, and the knee we want to bring over the ankle as best we can. We're headed in that direction. Feel your strength here. Keep the head, the heart, and the pelvis in a straight line vertically. And really take up space here. Feel the strength throughout the body. And then we'll bend that forearm, or bend the elbow rather, so we can rest the forearm right above the knee. Lengthen that left arm up above the shoulder, working also to keep this left hip open. And then we're going to bring that right hand down, coming into our high lunge here. And then we will use momentum from a bend in the knee and back and bring that foot forward into our forward fold. Swaying from side to side here. And then we'll roll up to standing, lifting arms up above the shoulders. Little back bend here at the top. Really engage the pelvic floor and the thighs to support that low back. And then bringing hands into prayer position at the heart, closing the eyes. Feeling the heartbeat. Feeling the pacing and depth of the breath. Let's come to the long edge of our mat. Spread the feet wide. We're going to take a big star pose here, so take up a lot of space. Really feel the energy you've created here. Bring the hands to the hips. The feet are just slightly turned in, toes slightly turned in. So again, the weight of the legs is concentrated in the outer edges of the feet. Let's bend forward from the hips, lengthening straight forward with the crown of the head, lifting the elbows up so we can really open through the chest. And then we're going to go ahead and let the head fall forward, coming into this wide-legged forward fold. You can allow the hands to rest right below the head. If you've got a block handy and you want to put that block right underneath the head, that can be another nice option to let the forehead rest on a block. Just allow the hands to rest wherever it feels most comfortable. And if you want to keep the block there, you can, or you can just let the head hang all the way down toward the floor, entirely up to you. You can also get a little bit of a groin stretch here if you bend the right knee and bring the weight of the body over toward that bent knee and then keep the left leg straight. You'll feel some stretching there in that inner thigh area. Then you can come back to center, bending the left knee, bringing the weight over toward that side, toward that knee, keeping the right leg straighter. And then come back to center. Let's bring the hands back to the hips to come out, lifting the elbows again toward the ceiling. Come to that flat back first, really lengthening the crown straight ahead, and then bending the knees to come on out of this position. From here, we're going to turn the toes out, turn the heels in, and bring hands to prayer here. And then we're going to bend the knees and start to come into this goddess pose. You can bring the arms out and bend them at a 90-degree angle if you like. Really feeling the strength in the legs here. Bringing hands back to prayer. We're going to continue down into a squat. And you can bring the block or 2 blocks if needed right under the bum. And you might need to walk the feet a bit closer. I do a little froggy sort of move here with moving the weight from side to side. So I'm coming onto the ball of the foot and the toes on one foot as I bring the weight over there, coming onto the heel of the opposite leg or opposite foot, and just moving the weight from side to side. This can really help to open up in the hips. And then you can come to rest the bum right on that block for a supported squat if you like. Keeping the elbows wide. The elbows can rest up on the knees or they can come inside the knees. We do want to try to keep a tall spine here. So if that means that the elbows are up on the knees, then so be it. If you would like to remove the block and try the squat without it, you can do that too. A little more effort, just entirely up to you. And then from here, we're going to use the hands to bring us down to seated. Bring the knees wide, bring the soles of the feet to touch each other. And you can grab either the shins, the ankles, the toes, whatever allows you to sit up nice and tall. And just begin to flap the knees a little bit here. Just a little flap of the knees, like a little butterfly. And then we'll come to stillness there. And let's turn so that we are facing the short edge of our mat. And we're going to just allow ourselves to come down onto the mat, giving the knees a little hug toward the chest. I'm going to do just a little bit of work to strengthen the core while we're here on the floor. So bring the fingertips behind the head and lift the knees so that they are maybe not right above the hips, but just a little closer to the chest. And really press the low back into the floor. So that means that you're going to draw the navel toward the spine, and that'll bring the spine, the low back, really into the mat. Now from this position, we're going to lower one toe to touch the mat and then bring that knee back up. And this whole time, we're working to keep that low back right on the mat. If the toe doesn't come all the way down to the mat, that's okay. If you're just lowering it and then lifting that knee back up, you are definitely feeling it in the lower abdominal muscles here. So let's do a couple more of these on each side. Just a little bit of core work here. And then we'll bring both feet down to the floor. And we're going to come up into a bridge, because sometimes when we do that move with the lifting of the toes and dropping of the toes, it can cause a little bit of grippiness here, at least for me, in the hip flexors. So we want to stretch that out just a little bit. So press into the heels, engage the pelvic floor and the thighs, and lift the hips up. Pressing the hip flexors and the hip bones toward the ceiling. And really using the thighs, the heels, and the pelvic floor. We don't want to grip the glutes too much, because that can cause some low back issues. So make the legs, the heels, the pelvic floor do most of the work here. If you would like to bring the shoulder blades a little closer together and clasp the hands behind the bum, you can, and that'll open up through the front of the chest a little bit. And just hold here for a moment, pressing those hips a little slightly closer to the ceiling, and then we'll gently unclasp the hands and slowly and gently bring the hips back down to the earth. Open the knees wide, bring the soles of the feet to touch one another. In a Supta Baddha Konasana here, nice wide opening of the legs, opening up the groin. You can make that L shape with your hands, placing that right above the hip flexors, or right on the hip flexors, and pressing away from the body, pressing down toward the bottom edge of your mat. That can give some length in the low back there. And then let's bring the knees toward one another. Again, bring the knees to the chest. Give them a little squeeze. And then rock from side to side on that low back, allowing some opening in the low back there. And we will lengthen the left leg out. Hold that right knee toward the chest. Use the abdominal and upper chest muscles to lift the head off the floor. If you need to, always bring the fingertips behind the head, and then we'll bring the nose toward the knee. If you feel some shaking here, that's just the body building some strength. Then we'll lower the head back down. Lower the right leg back down, bringing the left knee into the chest. Give it a little squeeze. And again, bring the hands behind the head if you like, lifting the head toward the ceiling first, nose toward the ceiling, and then nose toward the knee. Keeping the elbows wide. And then we'll lower the head back down, lower that leg back down, fully in our Shavasana here. We'll take just a couple of minutes to soak up the benefits of this practice, allowing the body to completely relax and release, letting everything grow heavy, letting the muscles just melt down into the mat. Feet have fallen open, palms facing the sky. You might notice the gentle curve of the fingers when the hands are completely relaxed. If any thoughts come to mind, let them pass through. No judgment, no attachment. Just be and breathe. And I'll let you know when to come back to full awareness. Let's start to bring a bit of movement to the fingers and the toes. You may want to rock the hips and the feet from side to side. Maybe circling the wrists. Taking a full body stretch, pressing out through the palms and the heels of the feet. Really lengthening through the front body. Rolling over onto one side, pillowing the head with the arm. And bringing the knees slightly closer to the chest in this loose fetal position for one full breath cycle. We'll use the hands to press us back up to seated. Keeping the eyes closed as long as you can. Coming into your easy seat here. Just take a moment to notice how it feels to sit in this position. Take notice of the breath, the beating of the heart. Notice if there's been any shift in the state of mind or emotion since you first came to practice. Let's draw the hands to prayer position at the heart. And let's bow our head as we say Namaste. Thank you so much for being here to practice with me today. I always count it as an honor that you came and chose to practice with me. And if you have any comments or questions about the practice, please let me know in the comments section below. And obviously, if you would like to know when new practices are posted, you can subscribe to the channel, which I would certainly appreciate. And if you'd like to get notifications, click that little bell. You'll be notified as soon as a new practice or a new video of any kind is loaded here on the channel. I hope this practice brought a little bit of peace and tranquility into your day and that you can carry that with you throughout your day and bring it into whatever space you enter today. Can't wait to practice with you again soon. Namaste.